Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the first principal's coffee of the school year. It seems like months ago, but it was only a couple weeks when we had the summer principal's coffee for the incoming freshmen. So I do appreciate you being here. I really am glad that you are willing to come in and that you have the time to speak to us, because really the input that we get from you really helps us, and without your input, we're not hearing from all of the stakeholders. So it's also good so that you can have conversations with your kids at home so that you can sort of feel like you understand the full experience. And I know having 5 kids of my own, sometimes their translation of things sort of is not always as we intend it to be. So you can hear it from the other side as well. So just what I like to do just before we start, and this is just as a reminder throughout the year of how I'm going to try to conduct these principals' coffees, and I would hope that you would join me in the same way, in that we are grounded and based in the mission of our district. And that's in an environment of mutual respect being a very key term there. The Byram Hills School District and its community will provide students with the means, opportunity, and knowledge in order to excel, to become productive and responsible citizens of the 21st century. So for me, I always find sort of a comfort level in knowing that that mission is there, because whenever the things start swirling around and things get crazy, I always try to just go back to that to sort of frame how we conduct our interactions with students, with parents, and with each other here at the school. So let me just go over our agenda very quickly, and there's going to be another one in there that's a secret agenda item. But who's new at Byram Hills? And let me just start off with that. I will go into it a little bit deeper, but I just wanted to welcome Colleen O'Connor, our new assistant principal for grades 9 and 11 this year. And Colleen, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I've met some of you so far. So prior to here, I was an assistant principal in Chappaqua and an assistant principal and special ed teacher in the city. I can't tell you how much I've been enjoying having your students back at school. It's a lovely place to be, and your students make all the difference. In the summer, it's a little bit more boring, but if you ever need anything, please come by. I'd also love to hear from any of you if you have experiences you want to share with me about the school. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Colleen. And we also have Ms. Bernice Pagan, who is our student assistance counselor, who took over for the role that Annie Kelly had last year. So Bernice, anything to add?
Hi there, how are you? I've been here a couple of weeks. It's been great. I'm new to Byram Hills, but not student assistants. Over the years, I've been in different districts, Dobbs Ferry, Blindbrook, and Irvington. Last year, it's been great to be here. I'm getting to know some of the students. I've been meeting some of the new students to the district in small groups. I've been into the mentoring classes, so getting to know the 9th graders. I had my first youth group yesterday, so we're going to keep working on that, get some kids in there and do some good activities while I'm here. So happy to be here.
All right, and Dr. Lamia, thank you for visiting us this morning.
Yes, thanks for having me. I come to I think you're all pretty familiar with me now. Like, everyone calls me Jen. It's okay. I like that. It's a part of this community that I enjoy, and let's keep that up. I just wanted to start and open today because I think a lot about Chris's role, and I think that if anybody can describe Chris's role best, it's probably his boss. So just to give you a sense, the last 2 mornings at 7:15 each morning, Chris and I spoke on the phone for at least 20 minutes. This is before this man has a chance to start his day. He has 800-something moving parts of children. He has over 100 moving parts of adults. He's got classes that are going on, athletics, a robust athletics program, the field, paints on the cars. We've got at every turn, we have multiple things that we're managing. And that's okay. We know Chris Walsh can do this. Chris Walsh was a captain of a ship, right? He can do that.
I'm not going to drown here. That's one added bonus.
No, he is not. And that's okay. That's great. We know that he can manage all of these things. I could throw 30 things, or people can throw 30 things his way, and he can do it. But we are Byram Hills, and that's not enough. So what has to happen is some really good planning. Reflection and planning. And just what Chris is talking about with what he's trying to do for kids and what he'll be talking about with the master schedule is what I see him doing on a daily basis with everything. So last year at the end of the school year, we spent a lot of time reflecting about goals he had set for the year and how he thought he had achieved those goals by the end of the year. This isn't just, every day we take on whatever new thing comes along and we, connect with different universities and we just do whatever feels right, just sort of to cover. This is really well thought out and planned. This summer we spent 2 days developing and honing his goals for the year. And when he talks about students becoming self-actualized, that can students actually get to the points in their lives where they're understanding who they are, where they are, how they are here, what their steps are moving forward, what their position is and where they want it to go. Chris sat down and said, okay, in order to do that, I need to do the following things. It's pages long. A very thought out bullet points of how he anticipates doing that. Let me start. Engaging the entire community around this master schedule. Leading this master schedule committee, making sure all stakeholders are in there. I'm reading like 3 words out of every 50. Utilizing Parliament, Student Leadership Board, Global Scholars, Admin Council, Challenge Success Steering Committee to frame the agenda. This is the pre-planning. Engaging the community in this deep dive, having evening discussion sessions to hear from the community about the master schedule. Keeping the Board of Education informed of his steps. Remaining close to the district mission. Planning visits to similar schools. Questioning their faculty, students, and administrators on the efficiency and efficacy of their schedules. Conducting faculty meetings for the entire year around this topic. Guidance department planning, whether it is implementing the college clinic to get kids to this point, whether it is visiting college or hiring consultants to come in and work with our guidance counselors. Challenge Success Steering Committee to create programs, starting to think about the students behind that. Programs improving student experiences. He's doing a community book read. He is helping in the Challenge Success Steering Committee to work on the parent newsletter, to inform work to the community, and everything else in between, whether it is supporting our new media and communication center, whether it's about safety and emergencies, reconceptualizing the library for a few years down the road, keeping partnerships with University of Michigan, and establishing consultancy sessions for University of Michigan to come in and continue to train our educators on how they can support children. He has a whole section on leadership training, how he's helping his new assistant principal and every other leader in the building, which by the way includes every single chairperson and director in the district. And then, just continuing to support all of our programs, whether it's special education, actually getting into those programs. So this is what Chris does. He spends the better part of the spring starting to conceptualize that, the summer putting that into place and getting all stakeholders, and the year implementing it, and then he will spend the spring reflecting with me about how successful he thought he was at that. So while we see Chris Walsh, Band-Aid man, can do everything, this is bleeding and this one hasn't been fed, with the 5 kids, right? You're like, that's not actually the Chris Walsh that's operating this district. So I thought it was really good to share that planning Chris Walsh behind all this. Because when you look at Byram Hills, you say, wow, this is amazing. Partnerships, Stanford University, University of Michigan, these are very thought out processes, and we are moving very slowly with them to make sure we're doing them right. Because we are so heavily invested in many things, I just want to be cautious that it doesn't look like we're doing the supermarket sweep the night before Thanksgiving, right? Where you're just grabbing everything because, this might work, this looks good. It is not about that at all. As a matter of fact, I would say that pretty much never happens. I just thought it was good for you to see that as a district, you may be happy with your child's experience. You may be happy with how Chris may handle different things that happen in the buildings, but that there is an actual enormous plan behind all of this work. And in the middle of talking to me at 7:15 in the morning, this is taking place and is happening. So I thought it would be important to share. And I just hope that everybody continues to have a good school year. And remember, we're collaborative in this process. So if there are things that you see that you think we could use support with, that's how we thrive, is by hearing from you and having those conversations in our community. So thanks.
Well, Jen, I really appreciate that, and really the work that we all do here wouldn't be possible without the way that you are with all of us. So as a leader who is so accessible all the time, we really do appreciate who you are and how you conduct yourself and just being a partner for us. I never feel like I'm out on a limb. Jen is always there for support for whoever it is, whether it's a student, a teacher, or any administrator. She is a leader who is constantly has her finger on the pulse, and I really appreciate our working relationship, and she has been a tremendous mentor for me. So thank you very much.
That's what you want for your children, right?
So I wanted to start off today something that's not on the agenda, but something that I spoke to all of the students about yesterday. I had grade level meetings, and this was the first time in my 4 years as principal that I felt strongly enough that I wanted to invite each of the grade levels down to address them on something that was going on here at school. So I opened up the meeting with the mission of the district, and what I really wanted to key in on was the idea of mutual respect and the idea of students, those two parts of our mission. Now, I called this meeting down in response to labeling 2 of our bathrooms, 2 out of the 26 in the building, as all gender. And it was important for me to make sure that everybody understood the feelings behind it, the thinking behind it, and the reasons why we were moving forward with this. So I really keyed in on that idea of mutual respect. What does that look like? What does that sound like in a school? And then the idea of students, that term represents all students, not white, not Hispanic, not just black, not just Jewish, not just Catholic, not gay, not straight, not cisgender, not transgender, all students. So as we look at Byram Hills High School as that great big top circus, everybody that's coming underneath that big top tent is part of this mission. We don't get to choose who gets into it and who gets out of it. This is all about a broader sense of equality in our school building. So the message that I sent to the kids was that it was important that we sent a message that all gender bathrooms acknowledge, respect, and support all of the students that we have here that are coming to school here. It also creates more choice for students. So there are times, for whatever our background, whatever our thoughts, that we have students who were coming into the school who were forced to take care of their most basic bodily functions in a room that really wasn't accepting of who they were or who they are. On a binary system, you're either male, you're either female. And we recognize and we understand that not all students are going to fit so easily into those 2 categories. So for us to acknowledge as a school that not every student coming here felt comfortable because they weren't able to go to the bathroom that didn't make them feel like they were forced into a box, we needed to create more choice. Now, if students don't feel safe to take care of their basic needs, Maslow's hierarchy will totally demonstrate that there's no way that they're going to be able to learn. So we look about safety, we look about food, shelter, clothing. Then we build it up from there after those needs. Being able to be part of a family, to have esteem. And if we look at Maslow's hierarchy, what we're really trying to do is to get students to a point where they can get to that sort of reach for becoming self-actualized. I wanted to touch on the historic background of this as well. And all of what we teach here is that bathrooms are typically ground zero for discrimination in public places. So if we look back just a few years ago in the United States civil rights movement, we all have seen the pictures, the separate bathrooms. If we look back prior to World War II, we all know what happened when people were being separated. It is a way and an attempt for the group that is the culture of power to make people feel as if they are the other, that their experience is not as worthy as everybody else's. And we see it all through history. So trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students experience much higher rates of depression, school avoidance, bullying, discrimination, and even suicidal ideation. That's a fact. The stats back it up. And it's not necessarily because of who they are. A lot of times it's because of what society makes them feel they are, that they are not part of this greater scheme of things, that there's no place for them. And if we can't allow a place for them here at school, then we're going to see those things start to occur at a much higher level. And if we really say that we care about mental health, we have to address these things as we see them. So, Title IX federally protects transgender students from discrimination based on their gender identity. And then we also know that New York State recognizes that there are gender identity or gender expression differences in students and protects those students under our Dignity for All Students Act. So that was basically what I told all of the students yesterday. And I opened it up to a number of different questions. Now let me talk to you about my thinking behind changing them without really letting anybody other than the students in the GSA know that it was going to happen. GSA is our Gender Sexuality Alliance group. A lot of times we don't actually know what we're going to be facing until we have a change. We don't know what sort of thoughts are out there. We don't know what perceptions are. We don't know what people are thinking. We don't know what their backgrounds are. So the idea was sort of, let's put this out there and let's really expose some of those things that may be, for us, that may seem pretty ugly, but that we need to address. Because a lot of times I know that when I'm walking up, upstairs and my kids are fooling around and they hear my footsteps, all of a sudden they'll stop fooling around. So what I wanted was to sort of not have a chance for anybody to stop thinking the way that they were thinking so that it could be exposed and that we could address it and that we could sort of work respectfully to move past it. The other thing that came up was that, well, why couldn't we just change those and make them single-use all gender bathrooms? And I guess I go back to Plessy versus Ferguson and then later to Brown versus Board of Ed, when we know that separate is absolutely not equal. Separate is separate, and therefore it cannot be equal. And for us to say that those bathrooms needed to be changed because they were going to have trans students using them, well then that in and of itself would have said that all the other bathrooms are normal and those ones are different. So until we can change all the bathrooms in the school to be the same as the one that we are hopeful will be accepting to trans students, I wasn't willing to make that change. Right? There are options. We do have many, many options in the school for students, whether they want to use the nurse's room, the nurse's office. We have single use in our suite. Students are welcome to use that as well. We know that if we were to change that, the message still would have been sent that something is wrong with the students. Something is different about these students, and therefore we need to change it. And that was important to me. It was important to the members of the GSA, and that's why that decision was made. So here we are. I know that there are people that are thinking that this is going to turn into students hooking up in there, that it's going to turn into the wild, wild west in that bathroom. And as a parent, I understand those fears. I understand those concerns. And all I can tell you is that we will address those things that are done improperly in that bathroom the way that we do in other bathrooms when they come up. So we have bathrooms, and unfortunately people vape in those bathrooms sometimes. We address that when it occurs. If things go on in those bathrooms, we're going to address them in the same way. And over time, little by little, their students are going to be more comfortable with it, and we're going to learn. It is new to us. We are going to experience growing pains, but I'm asking the community to be sophisticated around this idea of inclusion, acceptance, and a greater, broader sense of equality. So that's where I am with that, and I'm sorry that if that sounded soapboxy, but I think it was really important for me to sort of let everybody in the community know where we are with this and why the decisions were made the way that they were. So I'm happy to accept any of your questions now about this, about the process, and if you're not comfortable having those questions here in this open venue, I'll be staying behind afterwards and you could ask them at that time. This for me has gone on for over 2 years, this plan. And I have been working very closely with the GSA. Mr. Jonah Piali is the advisor to that group. And I always try to go in and meet with the GSA members at least 4 times a year. And fortunately, over the last 2 years, I've got to go to the Pride Work Conference, which is given over at PACE every year. And it's a tremendous conference where you can really learn about a lot of these issues that students with gender, sexuality issues, that you really learn about what burden they're carrying on them when they go into these public places that don't really value them or accept them. So with the GSA, it's very funny. So we planned this to start last year, but we needed to make some changes to the bathroom and to all of the bathrooms. So we had the stalls that were, they used to be, the peekaboo stalls. Well, now they're, floor to ceiling for the most part, a little bit of a gap in there. So we had to change those in all the bathrooms around the school, and we did that. We also had a discussion, a very deep discussion about, well, why not just call it student bathroom? And when I discussed this with the students in the GSA, some of them felt like they were comfortable with that, but others, and even they sort of sold me on it, felt that this didn't really send a message that the school understood their experience or valued their experience, and that really, acknowledging that there was a spectrum of gender identities was an important aspect for them. So last year, I ordered signs, and of course they were wrong because they said gender neutral. And look, I am evolving in my understanding of this as well. Gender neutral, basically, that would sort of almost be like it doesn't exist, right? There would be nothing like that. Even if you had a gender, it's neutral, and it's I figure like when you used to drive a car and you put it in neutral, you're going nowhere. So this idea that we weren't acknowledging that there could be a spectrum of genders, that was important for them as well. So we talked about, well, why not do it at the opening of the year? Why not right at the start? And they felt like that would be something that would have taken away from students coming back to school, getting into the rhythm of school, and they didn't want that to be the thing that everybody thought about the start of the school year. So I had to respect that as well. And went out, I did a lot of work calling the district lawyer just to make sure that what we were doing, that it was appropriate, and was able to feel comfortable that the steps that we were taking were lawful, comfortable, and really ground in school law. So it did take a long time. So I will say that this is probably 2 years coming, and we're here now, and we know that there's going to be growing pains. And like I said, students have choice. If they don't feel comfortable going there, there are 25 other bathrooms in the building that they could use. Let's see.
Hi everyone, I'm Gina Marie. I'm the new SRO. Most of you might know Officer Donnie. He and I will both be in the schools. We rotate every day. So today I'm here in Coleman Hill. Tomorrow I'll be at Montes and HCC. We both do have school emails. So if there are questions or anything that you guys have, we can give you our emails and you guys can get in touch with us that way. Really just trying to settle in and get the kids comfortable, like not whispering when they walk past our office door, and trying to figure out ways to kind of get more involved with them and have them be comfortable with our presence, because especially for high schoolers, it's hard to like have the cop in the room. So we're just trying to figure out and kind of feel our way through everything, but suggestions are welcomed. So, and I'm happy to be here. Yes, we are. We're both going. I think Donnie went last week and we'll both be going this week.
All right, so shifting gears just to give everybody an idea of who's new and some changes that have occurred here at Byram Hills. So Colleen, we've met already. Bernice, we've met. Annie Kelly is our social worker. So she was our student assistance counselor. She is now our social worker. She's actually on leave to take care of a significant family illness. and she'll be out. We're hoping that she'll be back later on in the school year. Miss Colleen Romer is a mathematics teacher. Elise Sauer, also a mathematics teacher. Miss Angela Hist is a Spanish teacher. Alexandra Hogan is leave replacement for Miss Salvato. Flo Bear, who many of you know, who retired only 2 years ago, we dragged her back in, and she is now back in the flexible support program. Miss Pagliugi, she is now filling in for Miss Kathy Friedenson, who is out taking care of some medical issues of her own. Joanne Ryan, who many of you know from the middle school, she is now up working here for part of the day in biology. Alan Lounsbury with the band. We love Alan, and many of you know him from working in the middle school as well. Miss Christina Wilson is now our guidance liaison. Mike McGrath is out. He has given me permission to let you know that he is going through cancer treatment, immunotherapy, and he was in just last Friday. He looked great, and we're hopeful that he'll be back. But in the meantime, Christina will be filling in for him as the liaison. Also, Peter Lichten, many of you know from chemistry and robotics. He is now our technology direct coordinator for the building. So he's taking care of all of our technology needs. And we're shifting from the old role that used to be really about support. The old technology teacher was created like at the advent of email. So that job was about how do we create email accounts? How do we do all of those little things that we all take for granted now? Peter's job is going to be shifting more towards the instructional side of technology use in the classroom. All right, so I just wanted to give a brief reminder about our community book read. It's going to be October 17th at 6 p.m. and it's going to be right in the library. And the book that was chosen by the members of the Challenge Success Steering Committee, the first book is Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be by Frank Bruni. And this book is an antidote to the college admissions mania. And I know many of you in the room have read it. And reading it again over the summer, I just felt an incredible calmness almost as I read it, that everything's going to be all right. We're going to be okay. Your kids are going to be okay. And I think it would really, the kids are going to be stressed. If you can read it, at least you can have a much better perception of the reality of the situation. So I invite everybody to come at that time. All right. So now I wanted to get into sort of the meaty portion of our discussion today. Master schedule, it's QFT is question formulation technique. And this is a way for me to really hear the questions of the stakeholders who are going to be involved in this discussion over whether we would look to go to a new master schedule. So our master schedule, as you know, let's hope this works. So we have a 9-day cycle in our schedule and drop schedule so that if we started out, our A day would be the model day, and then we would drop out each one of these periods every subsequent day and then stretch out all the other ones. So on an A day, our kids get 44 minutes of class and they get 25 minutes of lunch, and then every subsequent day after that, it's 49 minutes of class and 26 minutes of lunch. So they start right at 7:45 and they end right at 2:22. We let them out so that they can get the bus. So we have 49 minutes of class time. We have 26 minutes of lunch, and kids meet with 7 periods every day. So whether we like it or not, that master schedule speaks to our values as a community and as a school district. And what we need to do is to look at that master schedule to say, what is it that that schedule values? Does it value the things that we value as a district? Does this give us the best chance to have productive and responsible citizens of the 21st century? Does this give us the best opportunity for critical thinking skills, soft skill development, in-depth projects, project and problem-based learning, authentic assessments? Are those the values that are represented in this schedule, or would there be a better one that might get into those things. Does this schedule support student mental health the way that we think it could? Does this support students being involved in more than academics here so that they can get a full range of skills and understanding of things? That's what we need to ask when we start taking this deep dive into the master schedule. Now, we don't know. We may go through this process and we may come up and think, you know what, the one we got is the one that we're going to go forward with it because it does support all of those things that we hope it would. So, okay. So what I want to do is, and this is going to require a little bit of input, and you're going to have to be interactive. I apologize. I know you didn't plan on it. But Colleen, if you can grab one of the markers. Here you go. You can take this one.
Thank you.
So what I want to do is, keeping our master schedule in the back of your mind, I'm going to read this quote. And the quote is, "The master schedule is to a school what grading policies are to teachers and classrooms. It reveals the true beliefs, attitudes, values, and priorities of the school. The school's master schedule is like looking at an MRI of the inner workings of a school. It is a window to the soul of the school." So that's a pretty heavy quote, pretty deep. And I think I chose it because it gets us thinking about it on a deeper level. You know, you hear your kids every day come home, oh, it's a drop this, drop that. But what does it really mean in the big picture? What does our master schedule really mean to us as a community? So what I want to do now is I want to have open-ended questions that are proposed by you. Ms. O'Connor will write them down, about things that you start to question when you read this quote. So I'll start off with one, and then I'm going to step back and I'm going to ask you to just start throwing questions out there. So to me, when I read that, I would say my first question would be, what does Byram Hills value? So ordinarily what we would do at this point is we would ask the group, your small group, to select the three most important or the three best questions that came up. So those three questions that are most representative of all of the others. I won't have you do that now, but what I will do is I'm going to write these up, and then at the next principal's coffee, to entice you back, I will have you just check mark on the paper when you come in, and then we'll just take tallies of those so that we can get an idea of where you're coming from. But the teachers, they did a great job with this at the first faculty meeting. They had really, really deep questions about it, really things about what do we value, what does this actually look like, what would be the changes that they would need to make to instruction to satisfy any change to the schedule, how could they get professional development around that, making sure that we still maintain that high degree of success. So the teachers, they took a deep dive in it, and just like a lot of our parents are, some of our teachers see this as a much needed change that is coming years and years late. Others are saying, why are we messing with the formula? We know it works. For the most part, they all lie somewhere in between that spectrum. And what we really want to do with all of these conversations is come to a critical level of consensus. So I know that there's going to be people that will never ever come on board, but we need to at least have their say and move forward so that we feel comfortable that this is not a surprise to anybody. Just for agenda and planning, I'm happy to take any of your questions or comments about things that you would like to see at a principal's coffee. But this is just sort of my bare bones framework that I have right now for our meetings that are coming up this year. So October 22nd, Dr. Coltonecker will be coming in to talk about Title I. On November 19th, we have Lisa Pellegrino, who will be coming in to speak about mathematics. We have January 14th, Global Scholars. March 17th, we're going to be discussing new courses. April 21st, we do the budget, and we'll also have student assistance at that one. And then, May 19th, we'll have social worker and student assistants. So, does anybody have something that they feel they would like to learn more about, or they would like to have a deeper discussion about that they're not getting either in the department, in the community, or anywhere that they would like to address a little bit further? Yeah, the kids are, I've had meetings, and I put up a lot of hurdles, but these kids keep jumping over them. They want just a regular dance, and they've been taking all the necessary steps, so that may be coming up soon. So my big thing is always, if it's a great idea from the parents and the teachers, it probably will fall flat with the students, so let them take it on. And these students have taken it on, so there may be a dance coming up. Title I is the federal funds that we receive in order to promote different programs. And it's just basically touching on all of the things that the money that we are getting in, where it goes. It's not that exciting, but I'll make it exciting. And the PTSA, I always meet with the PTSA members just a week before our meetings, just so that I sort of get an idea of where the community is, if there's anything that's out there that we need to address. And I also share with them the agenda. And Holly and Dana send it out, and usually you can get it that way as well. Upcoming events, remember there's no school on Monday or Tuesday. Spirit Week starts the day that we get back, though. So on Tuesday through Saturday, that's going to be our Spirit Week. Homecoming games, and then there's daily themes every day that get sent out to the kids. Pajamas, grade level colors, and then Bobcat Pride. We have the in-school pep rally, that's on Friday. There's a lot of athletic events, and again, thank you to the district and the Board of Ed for supporting the games that are going to be taking place at night. October 3rd, the registration deadline for the 11-2 SAT. On October 5th, SAT reasoning and subject test. And then October is also our Honor Society induction month. So it starts off with World Language Honor Society induction. All right, and then October 9th, we have Yom Kippur. The 12th is the Galeno Bobcat Cross Country Run at 9 a.m. Columbus Day. So we start 3 weeks of not full school weeks starting next week. PSAT test for 11th graders. So this is important. Everybody else has a 3-hour delay on that day. So grades 9, 10, and 12. Even though there is a delay, the buses will be coming at the 3-hour delay time. So students, if they take the bus ordinarily, will be picked up at their regular bus stop 3 hours later. And then buses will go home at the regular time as well. 11th graders will also get picked up at their regular time. So the morning time, they'll get picked up. Community book read on 6 p.m. on the October 17th. And then less than a month away, our next principal's coffee. All right, again, it was great seeing you all back here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come here. It does mean a lot to our students, our teachers, and administrators to see that you are here and you're willing to support all of the work that we're doing. So thank you again, and I'll look forward to speaking to you afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you. Take care.